I wanted to say something in regards to being the first generation and going back home and viewing it and how it plays into the issue as well. I think even just from listening to you talk, when you return home to your family's home, their birthplace, you do kind of look at it through, in a way, as like you're looking through a glass or you're touching it with white gloves because of the history that's been instilled in them. And that just translates through. No matter what school system you go to or whatever, it can teach you how to say three and not tree, or, and so on. And, you learn a lot at home. And so when you return, you almost have to unlearn the things that people try to teach you to forget your background. So as a photographer as well, and from what you were saying, I gathered that experience. Maybe you can expand on that, like what it's like going back and really taking your time through, taking your time to familiarize the space, your culture, regardless of your parents' education or the education of the colonial superpowers that we live in.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I was just thinking how I wanted to expand on these ideas of when I go and photograph like my family. There's kind of like I'll tell you a quick story. I was like selling prints this past year, and a couple of people bought prints in the Dominican Republic, so I brought these prints over. And when I sold one print, my dad saw like how much money I made, and it was just like, for me, I was like, oh yeah, that's a couple $100. But when my dad saw it, he was like, what the hell? What? Someone bought one of your pictures just for this? And I was like, yeah, like this is like what.
And it wasn't a window screen.
Yeah. And then for a long time, like my parents were kind of confused of why I chose to go to art school. And this is the first time that I heard my dad kind of like reveal, like when he was like, when you applied to art school, I was so confused why you wanted to learn photography, because back at home, everyone could just open up a photo studio, and I don't know why you need an education for taking family portraits. And then after a while, it was kind of like, oh, I can see. I've always like felt this sentiment, but he never admitted to that. And that is kind of like how I've been existing in this space, creating art in the forms of photography. And every time I go back and like talk to people about the project, I try to be as transparent as possible, because there is a major disconnect from like presenting work, where the work is gonna live, who's gonna own it. And these are all things that I'm hyper aware of. And when I go back, I try to bring them prints. I try to bring them a way to keep the things that I'm photographing.